Are we live?
Yes, we are. Hello, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Scott and Bethany Palmer, the Money Couple. We are so glad to be with you today.
Yes, welcome.
This is awesome.
This is awesome. Welcome back to Wealth Wednesdays.
Yes.
We had 1,400 people watch our last one, and so thank you. Thank you for engaging.
Yes.
Thank you for your comments. It's just, it's such a pleasure as this community grows. And it's growing so fast, and we're so excited about it. And thank you for your awesome comments, too.
Yes.
Those comments really, they really help us because
Yeah.
we end up talking about those comments and blogging about those comments. And so when you send us a comment or you send us an idea, we love your ideas. Please keep those coming.
Absolutely.
It's so
Yes.
great because what it does is you're just not only helping us make, great content and hopefully helping parents and helping others just really get an idea of how we can make our relationships awesome and how money doesn't have to mess things up anymore,
Yep.
which is always our ongoing goal, is to
Right.
make sure that relationships can be saved and can be nurtured.
Yes. Now, while we wait for people to come on, look at that beautiful mountain.
I
right there.
know.
That
We
is
finally
just
have warm
incredible.
weather in Colorado.
Yay!
Took a while,
Yes,
but it was
85 today, I think. Woohoo!
beautiful. It's amazing.
We love summer, and it's just awesome. And we're Scott and Bethany Palmer, the Money Couple. We're so glad to be with you. Hey, give us a smiley face, a heart, whatever. We love those things. It's great. And any comments that you have, suggestions that you have as we go along. Summer is a fabulous time to focus on your kids and to focus on having money smart kids.
Yep.
So important, and it's just a great time to do it. And I know that for us, we've kind of made a renewed commitment to it this summer. We've had some real success in the past, and but it takes intentionality, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't it's so easy to just be like be in a good groove, and then all of a sudden it's not a good groove. So we're just excited to share with you some things that have worked for us personally, and then also we have ideas that have worked from other people too.
Yeah,
So
great feedback.
for Scott and Bethany Palmer, while others are coming in live, we want to just say, hey, thanks, and we're so glad to be with you. Wealth Wednesdays are all designed to give you wealth in your money and wealth in your relationships. So we're excited about it. It was fascinating. Yesterday we were talking to a friend of ours, and she was telling us just how the struggles that she was having with her child, who's
32.
now 32.
But still her child.
Yes, still her child, and just really struggles with the money side and him making some good, wise money decisions. And so I don't know, no matter what age our children are, but I know that there are things that we can do when they're younger that can help pave the way. But then also as they're older, we wrote this book, The 5 Money Conversations to have with your kids at every age and stage, and really is to be kind of like your money Bible with your kids, because there's different age groups, and our last age group is 18 to 25.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's some things that we can do to make our kids not be so dependent on us. It's a huge problem right now, kids moving home with parents.
80% of all college graduates move back home.
Yeah.
80%. And I know when I went to school, the expectation was, hey, when you graduate, I've helped you through school. I worked at the same time. I mean, my mom and dad definitely helped me, but I also worked hard to get through school and took on some debt that we paid off. But, the reality is if we've got 80% of kids coming back, we might not be setting the right expectations with them.
At a younger age.
And I lived in a pretty rough little spot, but it was my own apartment, and it was ugly, and it was with my twin brother, and we had a blast. But one of the things that we have to do is make sure that we're setting these expectations with our kids about how and what we want them to act like, especially when they're getting out of school, especially when they graduate and maybe they get into the full-time workforce. You don't want to just throw them amongst the wolves by any means, but we do need to set expectations of what it's going to look like, long term, so that when your child is 32, like our dear friend, you're not sitting here going, oh my gosh, how could my son be so smart when it comes to some things and so stupid when it was her words exactly, stupid when it comes to money.
Yeah.
And so that's why we do these Wealth Wednesdays, and that's why we're talking about what we're talking about today. Last week we talked about having your house in order. How do you set up a house of order for your kids? And we use the bedroom as the best training ground ever. And so what we want to talk today is about how do you create that house of order when it comes to money with your kids.
Yes. Now, that when we talked last week about house of order, we had such just great response. But how does a house of order infiltrate into your kids understanding more about money. And here's the thing, when there's chaos around them, and you don't set any expectations for clean rooms, keeping all your stuff off the floor, a clean house, it's not just your room, it's actually your whole house, then how can you then expect them to have a financial house in order? And so we really cannot stress that this particular skill set of learning how to keep your room in order, learn how to keep stuff that's yours in your area, and being responsible for that has direct carryover into a good money life. So, one of the things that we talked about last week was, our job as parents is to raise great men, godly men. We want to teach our children to be responsible. We want to teach our children
good work ethic.
For
me, that's a big one.
It starts at very, very young ages. If you have really little kids, we cannot tell you how important it is to start. We talked last week about how, if you don't want your kids standing on chairs at 15, then don't let them stand on chairs at 2. If you don't want them knocking over something and not being responsible for, then don't let them do it when they're a baby. If you don't want them chewing on keys as an adult, then don't have them chew on keys as a little baby. If you don't want them watching TV and videos 24/7 when they're 15, then don't let them do it when they're a baby. So there's this direct carryover in all the different things, being so intentional as parents. And it is our number one job. It is a job, it is responsibility, and it takes intentionality, no doubt about it. We are so excited you're here with us today. We're going to do this is going to be part 2 to where a house of order actually impacts their money life. So we're going to take this to part 2 and take it to the next step. And we're excited to do that today.
Absolutely.
All right, so ready? Get started?
How do we start creating our house of order when it comes to our kids with their money? And this is such a huge thing because I think part of what we put on ourselves as parents is, everything we have to do is perfect. And, this is going to be so time consuming.
So not perfect.
But the 3 things that we're going to talk about, right, me, not her.
Me.
The great thing here is that these are really 3 quick, easy things that you can remember easily and just get moving right away. Now remember, we've got a 13 who's about to turn 14-year-old and a 15 who's about to turn a 16-year-old. And so we've used these when they were younger, but man, we are still totally engaged with these 3, even though they're teenagers, because we know that Cole's going to be out of the house in 4 years. He's going to be at college, believe it or not. And so we want to make sure that we're implementing and we're talking about these things. So here's the big 3. The first thing that we have to teach them and talk to them every week about is their savings. Now, when Beth and I were kind of talking about this subject earlier this week, she said, which I think is so true, you got to start off with the key to any savings things, which is you have to give them a goal. You have to give them something to save for. You could probably go out and buy it yourself and it wouldn't be that big a deal if they're little. Whether it's a Lego or it's, some kind of doll or something like that, give them the goal of saving. Because what happens...
If they want to give it to somebody.
Or give it to somebody. Right, absolutely. But if you give them a goal of savings, then that becomes something that just naturally is programmed into them. So give them that goal. I think the biggest example that we have, and as you're watching this, please give us more examples because we will blog these and get them out to other parents. But for us was a car. So when Cole turned 4 or 5, I said, listen, buddy, your dad isn't going to just buy you a car when you get 16. What I will do is I'll match you dollar for dollar, and I gave him a specific dollar amount. That is up to you. I'll make sure that I'm there for my half, but you have to show there for your half. And that's what he's been doing since he's 5. Now, the car we got him was a little more expensive than we anticipated, but what basically ended up happening was he owed me a little bit more money, but guess what? I got him on a payment plan.
And he's going to learn that debt's not fun.
That's not fun, because you know what? I'm going to show him every week what he owes me, and so that's part of our conversation. But the savings is so important to him because he understands, I had to save, and I saved some money, but now I owe a little bit, and I'm going to pay that back. One of the things of all 3 things is talking to this on a regular basis. If you open up the communication with your kids to talk about money in a non-judgmental, an open, and I'll even dare to say fun way, they're going to carry that into their adulthood. They're going to talk to you about what's happening with their new jobs and what did you guys put in your 401ks and how did you start saving? How did you save to build a house? One of the great things about talking with your savings with your kids for a long time is they're going to remember those conversations. You'll probably forget half of them.
I remember, one thing too, I'll say before we get into some more detail, there's actually 3 categories of things that we believe that you need to really be intentional in talking about with your kids: savings, spending, and giving. And next week we're going to actually talk about allowances. We've had a lot of questions about allowances. We were going to kind
great comments from you guys
intertwine that with this, but it just gets too
we got
confusing.
So many comments on it. We're going to do a whole Wealth
Wednesday on allowances and what's appropriate and how to handle it. And kind of a different way of thinking about it than people have in the past. But anyway, this savings thing, it is so crucial to be talking to them regularly about it. What are you saving for? Why are you saving? What are you personally as parents saving for? You talking about, let's say you increase your 401k 1%. You say, you know what, hey, I just increased my savings 1% to save for my future. You talking about your savings is just as important as talking about their savings.
Absolutely.
If you are talking about it regularly, then they will talk about it regularly and think about it regularly.
And you don't have to have it all figured out. I mean, I think sometimes as parents we think, oh my gosh, how can I speak into my kid if I'm not doing it perfect? If I have debt or we financed a car. Hey, you know what? Give them something.
Yeah.
Because, you don't have to have it all figured out. We're never going to get this whole parenting thing figured out. So, bottom line is savings. So, once again, give them a goal. Talk to them on a regular basis. Encourage the heck out of them when they are saving. Occasionally, go to their savings account or go to their piggy bank with savings and count it with them and be like, are you kidding me? You are doing so awesome. I am so proud of you. That is just going to fuel that fire of savings. And turn it into something fun.
Yeah.
Don't let it be a drag. I think often we make it kind of a drag. And like with Cole's car, we were looking at that savings all the time.
Okay, so one thing too, my arm's getting like the blood's
We've got to get a selfie stick.
We do. This is ridiculous. But anyway, one of the things that, when you say to somebody, when you say to your child, you should be so proud, I'm so proud of you, follow that up with, you should be proud of yourself. You're the one who put this in. Somebody told me that once, because one of the things we want to instill in our kids is that they need to be proud of themselves and not just depend on us as parents to be proud of them. Mm-hmm. Because when they get out in the real world, not their boss isn't always going to be like, I'm so proud of you, and then they're like, ah. So, make sure we follow up with, you should be proud of yourself. If they've put money in their savings, which again, next week we're going to talk about allowances, then, hey, we got a thumbs up going around the screen. That's fun to see. We love seeing more of those smiley faces, hearts. We like those too. But at any rate, follow that up with, you should be proud of yourself. Because savings is not always easy for everybody. Oh, and I will say one thing. Savings for some kids is easier than others.
Absolutely.
Knowing your kids' money personalities is crucial to having smart money kids. We cannot tell you, because you're gonna need to parent a child that has a hard time with it a little bit differently than one that it's super easy, and you got to encourage them to spend. So make sure you know your kids' money personalities. In this book, you can actually get a code to be able to get a free kids' money personality assessment depending on their age. It's age appropriate, age stuff. It's totally cool. Anyway, savings. All right, next
let's talk about giving.
Giving, I love it.
Giving is so great because basically the big thing that we talk about here, whether they're 2, 3, 5, or 25, is that you've got to take that money and plug it into their passion. If you can teach them about how they bless other people, we suggest, instead of making it about what your organization is, make it about what they want to give to. And so we always suggest to people and always encourage other parents to plug into their passion first. Now that might be church, that might be a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. My boys are super duper.
Well, we always encourage giving to church.
Yeah,
first.
Absolutely. Church first is kind of our motto. But our kids also really have a passion for the Susan G. Komen Foundation because of what Bethany went through with her breast cancer. And so that is a great example for us. But we suggest letting them decide, letting them cut the check and letting them put it in the bucket at Sunday school.
Yeah. So let's give some examples here. Let's say you're There we go. Well, there's somewhere. Here, we'll go here. Here we go. Okay, we'll just stand right here. Okay, so we're back. Let's say your kid, your girl is a cheerleader, and she loves cheerleading. But there's so many organizations that actually raise money to be able to get underprivileged kids who want to be in cheerleading into cheerleading. So have them give to that organization. I want to back up just a second too and just say, for us, giving to our church and teaching that to our kids is a top priority in their give. So they learn how to do it. We kind of like to think of it as a giving muscle, and they kind of have to practice, just like any muscle in terms of any working out that you're doing. You got to kind of exercise it and get it strong. So that giving muscle has to be exercised. So for us each week at church, we have our kids give so they can actually get that giving muscle going. But over and above that, have them plug into that passion. It's really, really crucial in terms of giving.
Absolutely. So 3 house in orders. The first one was savings. Second one is giving. And now we're going to transition to spending.
Yes.
And why it's so important to engage with your kids with spending, because now some of your kids, like my youngest, has no problem spending. Yeah. As a matter of fact, when we talk about spending, we actually have to sit down and say, okay, what are you going to spend on? Like, let's look at this weekly, see how much you had at the beginning of the week, see how much you had at the end of the week, and just talk about, what are you spending on and what kind of plan do you have? For some kids out there, based on their money personalities, spending is actually a chore. They don't like going to the movies because they don't want to spend the money. They don't like going out with their friends because they don't want to spend the money.
They don't give gifts.
They don't even give gifts because they don't like spending the money. And so that carries into adulthood huge. And we want to make sure that we're creating people that are great givers and bless other people. And I will tell you that sometimes you have to get your kids and actually convince them to spend. Now, if you're a saver, this is going to be extremely frustrating. Or if you're a saver and you've got a spender, that's extremely frustrating. But we suggest, and what we do is encourage parents to understand what the strengths are with their kids when it comes to spending and what the weaknesses are, and talk about it. That way, they'll hear you in the back of their brains when they're 32 years old about what does my spending need to look like, or what doesn't it need to look like. And so spending kind of, for most of us, seems like a no-brainer, but it's not. And what we want to do is make sure that we're speaking into our kids and infusing them with encouragement to either become better spenders by tracking it a little bit better, or maybe spend it all. It's huge, huge important that we just encourage, and we suggest to all of you out there, and we encourage you to dive in with your kids, understand what their money personalities are, so that you come alongside them and encourage them to spend in the best way and keep the conversations going. If you basically put yourself in a position where they seeing is, I don't want to talk to my mom and dad about spending because they're going to say no, then what you're doing is that's going to carry over into their adulthood.
They're going to rebel.
Right. And then when you're in college and you need to talk to them about tough financial things and ways that they're spending, either maybe not spending as much, or maybe go ahead and spend this, we have it saved, that conversation's already happened a couple hundred times. So I know that might, for some of you, sound crazy, but absolutely, you want to make sure that you're talking to your kids about savings.
Yep.
Absolutely. Talk to your kids about giving, and then talk to your kids about spending. That's how you're going to create an amazing house of order. And please let us have your comments. Some of these comments that we talked about today have come from you, our money couple and relationship family out there. So we're so encouraged.
Yes. One thing that I just want to end with is that just like our conversations that we have with our kids about sex has to be kind of normal and natural. I don't think anymore, I know my mom and dad had the birds and the bees talk. I don't think we can afford to do that anymore. Our kids need to feel like we are safe to come to talk about, have one discussion. So again, for those who have little kids, start really young.
Absolutely.
I remember I was in the doctor's office and there was this pamphlet and it said boys in puberty, and I actually took it out and I started talking about it. At first they were so embarrassed, but then after a while it just made them they were like, it's natural to talk about that. Now they were young when I did that. I was there for like 4, 6 years old. So, there we go. Okay, just like that, we want the money conversations to be real natural too. So you talking about your money situations, that has an impact on your kids. So we want to be having these be normal parts of their lives, their conversations. That's really super important. So again, the whole area of saving, giving, spending. We know you can do it. We're excited for you. Let us know any questions you have. We'll be happy to get right back to you. And we're excited. Next week, we're going to be talking about allowances.
Yep.
And we've got lots of questions about that. We have a unique approach to it that we know has worked well. And we'll look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week.
We always end, make it happen.